Welcome to Unboxed God, where we detox from religion and discover the God who refuses to fit inside the boxes we were given. I'm Tolu Sarah Johnson, and here we explore who God really is, beyond fear, beyond formulas, and beyond everything we were taught to perform. If you're hungry for a real relationship with Him, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. So this is continuation of our commandment. And this is going to be the 35th commandment overall and the 7th commandment in the theme of following. And the title of this commandment is Pray to God the Father. That looks simple and straightforward, isn't it? That we all know naturally who we are supposed to pray to. God the Father. But let's dive into this commandment and let's understand what this commandment is trying to teach us. So Matthew 6 verse 9, we are going to read. It says, "This then is how you should pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name." Wow. Well, we can continue. There's so many, their kingdom come that will be done on earth. But for this commandment, then this is how you should pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. There's something profoundly intentional about the first word Jesus gives us in a prayer. Father. Not judge, not tax master, not boss, not distant ruler. Father. And with that one word, Jesus quietly dismantles the most common lie religion plants inside the human heart. God may be powerful, but it's not personally for you. That's how people see God. They don't see Him as Father, as the one who loves them and He will give His only Son as a ransom for them. Where have we got it all wrong? And Jesus is trying to draw us back to the original intention that we are supposed to commune with our Father. And that's why Jesus began the prayer by correcting relationship. Because prayer doesn't start with your request. It starts with who you believe you're talking to. If you think you're speaking to a reluctant God, you beg. If you think you're speaking to an angry God, you perform. If you think you're speaking to a cold God, you recite script. But if you know you're speaking to a Father, you will come like a child who belongs. And that's why Jesus says you should start with our Father. I used to call God 3 years ago, I think. Or 2.5 years ago now. Then I started calling Him Father. Then now, at least, for the past 6 months, I've been calling Him Papa. And that means so much to me. That name alone makes my heart melt in front of Him. It has changed the way I see Him. It has changed the way I relate with Him. Because I know this is my Papa who loves me so much and cares about me. And anything He does for me, even if I don't understand it now, it is for my good. And that relationship keeps evolving. I'm calling Him Papa now. I don't know what I'll call Him tomorrow. But Papa looks so personal to me. And it touches my heart. And I know it touches His heart every time I call Him Papa. So, if I'm speaking to Him now, I don't speak to Him like a God who doesn't care. I speak to Him like a God who loves. And Jesus was training His disciples to bring their needs to the Father, not because Jesus cannot hear, and not because heaven is picky about who you address, but because Jesus wanted them to know the Father is not hidden behind Jesus like a wall. The Father is revealed through Jesus like a doorway. And many people know about Jesus, but still don't know the Father's heart. So Jesus opens prayer by placing the Father at the center. So the disciples will learn intimacy, not just theology. And that's why this commandment is not a rigid rule. It is an invitation into a family. And the real meaning of in Jesus' name, a lot of believers were taught that in Jesus' name is a kind of spiritual signature that guarantees result. But Jesus points your point in the conversation, but Jesus' point in the conversation was deeper. In Jesus' name is not a formula, it is alignment. It means I'm asking for this in the character of Jesus, in the presence of Jesus, in the manner of Jesus. If it were merely a magic phrase, every prayer would be answered automatically. But prayer is not a spell casting. Prayer is communion. And heaven is not impressed by wording. Heaven responds to faith, motive, love, and alignment. I want you to look at the analogy sending a package. Think of a prayer like sending a package to heaven. You can send it with standard delivery or express delivery. But the point is, it still arrives. You can address your prayer to Jesus or to the Father and it will still be heard. Not because God is casual about himself, but because heaven is not insecure. The Father is not threatened by you calling on Jesus. Jesus is not offended by you calling on the Father. The aim is not to perfect the address line. The aim is to reach God with a real heart. So, how do you pray now? Do you think God is hearing? I will tell you, whether you pray in the right way or not, God will still hear because he's a loving Father. And you might be thinking, what about unbelievers? And this is where the conversation becomes tender and shocking in a good way. Unbelievers often cry out in desperation. Sometimes they don't have theology or language or correct terms. They just have fear, need, pain, longing. And heaven still hears. Because many people don't come to God through religious strength. They come through weakness. A desperate prayer is sometimes the first honest prayer a person has ever prayed. And God answers. Not because the person has ended, but because God is always looking for ways to win heart. So religion says, if you promise and failed, God will stop helping you. But God isn't petty. He doesn't hold grudges. The humans do. It continues to answer, continues to draw, continue to invite. Because he's not trying to win arguments. He's trying to win people. Our Father changes what you believe about yourself. And when Jesus gives you Father, he also gives you something else. Sonship, daughterhood, belonging. I know now I belong to Papa. I know now I belong to Jesus. So people pray differently when they feel like outsiders. They bargain. They panic. They over-explain. They try to sound worthy. But a child doesn't negotiate love. A child leans into it. And even if your earthly father was absent, painful, inconsistent, unsafe, Jesus does not call God Father to trigger your wounds. He calls him Father to heal them. He is renaming God for you so your heart can finally exhale. Hallowed be your name isn't a lie. It is a lifestyle. To hallow God's name isn't only about how you start prayer. It is about how you carry God in the world. Jesus' point is simple. If your life is full of hypocrisy, people will use God's name as a curse. If your life is full of light, people will glorify God because of you. So the most powerful way to honor God's name is not loud worship. It is consistent love. It's integrity. It's kindness. It's becoming so safe, so steady, so real that people look at your life and think, God must be God. Because something in you is different. And one of the most liberating truths you touched is this. You don't have to be a pastor to glorify God. Sometimes the most kingdom thing someone does is create something that helps human beings connect, survive, learn, heal, and pray. But God is glorified when love becomes visible in hearts, in service, in innovation, in generosity, in community, in mercy. Because humans were designed to reflect Him. So what is this commandment saying? Only pray this way or God won't listen. Sorry, what this commandment is not saying is only pray this way or God won't listen. It's saying start prayer from relationship, not performance. Approach God as a father, not as a transaction. Let intimacy lead the conversation. Jesus is not standing between you and the Father like a gatekeeper. He's bringing you to the Father like a brother who says, come. It's better than you think. And if you forget to start with our Father sometimes, God isn't petty. If answered prayer depended on perfect obedience, nobody will receive anything. So prayer is answered because of God's nature. It's love, it's grace, it's compassion and patience. So yes, pray to the Father. Not because you're scared you will get it wrong, but because you are finally learning you have someone to belong to. I hope you've been blessed by this commandment. God bless you and see you in the next.